late 90s, there was a lot of great games I enjoyed on my N64 and my PlayStation 1. But there was one game in particular that made me jealous I didn't have the upcoming Sega console, the Dreamcast. And that game? Sonic Adventure. Sonic trying to make a full leap into 3D was not exactly an easy transition to make. I guess the first start would have been Sonic 3D Blast, which has an isometric view and it's kind of interesting, but more about that another day. Besides the Genesis, it also had a port on the Sega Saturn. Speaking of the Sega Saturn, we got a racing game called Sonic R, which both looks and sound great, but the controls and the balance between the characters left a lot to be desired. And while I never played it, there was Sonic Jam, which was a compilation game, but it gave a hub world, which was as close as we got to a 3D Sonic game on the console. All we wanted was a fun Sonic game similar to what we had on the Genesis, except this time in 3D. And we almost had that, and keyword is almost. Then in 1998, advertised along with the Sega Dreamcast, we got Sonic Adventure. And we didn't just get 3D graphics for Sonic characters, we also got some new designs as well. This was definitely a new Sonic. But about 20 years later, is Sonic Adventure worth playing? Well, let's take a look. Okay. All right. The story of Sonic Adventure actually begins in ancient times, where Chaos, the protector of the Chaos Emeralds, and the Chao lived peacefully. That is until a tribe of Echidna, led by Pachacama, tried to steal the Chaos Emeralds, prompting Chaos to stop them by using their powers to become perfect Chaos, wiping out the Echidna except for Tikal, who befriended Chaos and the Chao before the raid. Preventing them from doing further damage, Tikal sealed herself in Chaos within the Master Emerald. That is until Dr. Robotnik, who goes by Eggman outside of Japan from now on, releases Chaos from the Master Emerald by shattering it, thus plummeting Angel Island into the sea. Meanwhile in Station Square, Sonic encounters Chaos after the police pathetically tries to stop it. Yes, bullets would totally work on a water god. Sonic defeats it and finds Tails as they work to stop Eggman from getting all the Chaos Emeralds. And being our heroes, Eggman succeeds really well at getting them. While this is going on, Knuckles is racing to get the shards of the Master Emerald, which he does. And Eggman also sends out his E-Series robots to find a frog named Froggy that swallowed a Chaos Emerald after getting mutated by a piece of chaos. One of these robots, named E102 Gamma, finds the frog, all while his buddy Big the Cat tries to find Froggy as well. Meanwhile, Amy Rose, actually getting to do something this time around, finds a Flicky, who she nicknames Birdie. Such creative names here. However, the Flicky is being pursued by Zero, another robot of Eggman's, who's after the bird for a Chaos Emerald it's holding. While captured by Eggman, Amy meets Gamma and convinces him not to be evil anymore. And Gamma's like, okay, and frees Amy, but not before we find out that Birdie is separated from their parents, who happen to be inside of Gamma and his brother E101 Beta. Feels like I got sidetracked there. Oh well, back to the plot. Aboard the egg carrier, Chaos, after engulfing 6 emeralds, had been defeated, causing Eggman to try to blow up Station Square, with the missile he used turning out to be a dud. So the day is saved. Or is it? Sonic and Tails remember that the Tornado 2 has a Chaos Emerald inside of it. They go after it, only to be stopped by a flashback, great timing to call, allowing Chaos to become Perfect Chaos, who proceeds to go all day after tomorrow in Station Square, without any mass casualties despite there being people out and about.
That area may have been evacuated, but it'll give him something to think about.
After getting a full explanation of Chaos via Tikal, Sonic, with the motivation of his friends and a massed crowd, uses the positive energies of the Chaos Emeralds to transform into Super Sonic, since Chaos used the negative energy, something that was never brought up before this moment, but I'll let it slide, because this transformation is awesome. After Perfect Chaos has been neutralized, Chaos and Tikal ascend to the afterlife, with Tails giving us oddly complacent commentary on all this.
All's well that ends well, right?
I'm homeless now, you jerk! And thus everyone is happy. Well, for the first Sonic game with plot, and I mean one with actual dialogue this time, it's actually alright. It's not perfect, but it's an okay start. I mean, the main thing is we have our characters, and they have their motivations for being here. Sonic is being Sonic, Tails wants to get out of Sonic's shadow, Knuckles wants to reassemble the Master Emerald pieces, Amy wants respect from Sonic, Gamma's kinda just there, and Big the Cat wants to save his buddy Froggy. Now on to the gameplay. When it comes to the stages, the stages in Sonic Adventure have the typical formula you would expect by now in a Sonic game. There's a total of about 14 levels, and with those 14, you get a couple of sub-games, which involve the tornado planes and sandboarding, I guess? As you would imagine, Sonic gets to play most of these stages, 12 of them. Tails get 8, Knuckles and Gamma gets 5, Big the Cat thankfully gets only 4, but more about that later, and Amy gets 3. For the first time you can get level up items for the characters. Some of them are optional, but most of them are mandatory for beating the game. Though the only one I'm not really a fan of is Knuckles' fighting gloves upgrade. Besides the fact it's mostly situational, like Sonic's Ancient Light upgrade, but it's just ugly. As far as the characters go, you only have the option to choose Sonic at first, but as you encounter the characters throughout the game, you get to unlock them. And as far as their gameplay goes, Sonic's stages are exactly what you expect from Sonic. They involve going from point A to point B, with some optional paths to take as well. The only stages I really have an issue with is Skydeck and Lost World. It's because of how long these stages can be, it gets outright tedious after a while. And not to mention, the camera angles don't work out how they should, which can break the momentum quite a bit. Tails on the other hand, his stages involve racing, aka beating Sonic or Eggman to the goal. They're definitely abridged versions of Sonic stages, and easy to spam due to Tails' flight. Knuckles stages involve locating the Emerald Shards, and using a radar to track each one down. His levels have a more sandbox approach, as you're not going from beginning to end, but you have a small area where you can find the pieces. I will jump the gun a bit and say these are the best emerald hunting stages in Sonic, bar none. The maps themselves aren't too big, you can track multiple shards in any order, though the Skydeck, well, I wasn't a big fan of it with Sonic. I don't really like it with Knuckles either, especially when you have to change the angles of the carrier altogether. Amy Rose's stages have you running away from Zero, which is okay at first, but the last stage gets rather tiring, especially in this section where I have to carefully platform at an angle where I can't fully control the camera on. At the end of the game, she fights against Zero, who is rather easy, but still satisfying from all the chasing. You know what, come to think about it, Amy has the shortest campaign possible, so I guess they decided to pad it out with cutscenes. That's fun, right? If you're familiar with rail shooting games, you'll be at home with A102 Gamma. You lock onto targets or targets by holding down the shoot button, and when you release, well, you get the idea. One difference between the other characters in Gamma, every stage except for the first one has Gamma fighting a boss at the end of it. Then there is Big the Cat. Big the Cat, whose entire campaign feels like a complete afterthought, since he has to get his friend Froggy back. You imagine it'd be something akin to Tails or even Amy's stages. But no, you have to fish for Froggy, and that's all you do with Big the Cat. Fish. You can move the hook to try to get Froggy's attention, but unfortunately there's other fish in the water who will try to go for the lure too. What I hate worse than trying to get Froggy's attention is the fake outs that will occur. It seems like Froggy or a fish is about to hook on, but it turns out no. It happens so often it just becomes outright annoying. The only way you can die in these stages is if the reel pressure is too high. Don't know why he would only have one reel. You can get upgrades for the lure. You can also get a belt that allows Big to float back to the surface quickly, but at the same time it's a tease, as you can get ridiculously close to Froggy when you jump in the water, and logically you think you would just be able to just grab him, but no, you have to tediously fish. And these stages can go on for 16 minutes at least, and that's when you know what you're doing. Funny enough, when it comes to his boss fight with Chaos 6, you can actually beat the fight in a minute or less. I am not even kidding, it's that easy. Then there's a Super Sonic campaign, which honestly is just plot for the game of walking around. That is until Sonic uses the positive energy of the Chaos Emeralds and transforms with Crush 40 in the background. Super Sonic has definitely transitioned nicely into 3D, as he's literally a Super Sonic. It's a shame you can only use him for the final boss and not anywhere else. And unfortunately this reminds me of a tradition that Sonic Adventure started about the Chaos Emeralds in Super Sonic, but more about that a different day. This is the first Sonic game I ever played with a hub world, and honestly I'm fine with hub worlds in Sonic. You can interact with some of the characters around Station Square in the Mystic Ruins, and honestly their dialogue can be quite amusing. Though the one thing I don't like about the hub worlds is the fact that I have to walk in certain areas to trigger a cutscene, which is most notorious during Amy and Super Sonic's campaign. I know it's about the adventure, hence the title, but honestly it unnecessarily pads out the game for me at times. Cutscenes should be an automatic thing in my opinion. Hub worlds should be for doing missions, getting upgrades, and finding levels. Also mind you, if you're playing the Dreamcast version, you cannot skip through any of these cutscenes at all. As far as the bosses go, aside from Gamma fighting the E-Series robots, or Amy fighting against Zero, you mostly fight against Eggman or the forms of Chaos. You have Chaos Zero, which only Sonic fights, Chaos 2, which fights Knuckles, Chaos 4 that fights Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, Chaos, a Chaos 6 who battles against Sonic, Knuckles, and Big. And this is a complaint I have about the bosses. Why do I have to fight a couple of these bosses 3 times? Provided the Chaos 6 fight can be taken down pretty easily thanks to upgrades, especially in Sonic and Knuckles' case. But with Chaos 4, it's honestly boring considering that Chaos doesn't change up its patterns, which ultimately makes it feel pointless. That's not to say there aren't any repeat bosses besides those 2, but it makes me wish they were more varied. You see Chaos 1 near the beginning, but he's transformed into Chaos 2 before you fight him, and we don't even get to see what Chaos 3 and 5 would have looked like, which honestly feels like a missed opportunity. Speaking of missed opportunities, is it me or does it feel like Sonic could have had a fight with Zero? Aside from those, there are character fights, and they are pathetically easy. All you have to do is spam one button. No joke. As far as the soundtrack goes, I love it. It is one of, if not my favorite, Sonic soundtrack. Not only do we get a remix of a Sonic 3D Blast song, which sounds even better thanks to the Dreamcast, but for the first time in a main Sonic game, we got some songs with lyrics. Well, at least for the main characters. It's something I would have never expected from a video game, let alone a Sonic one, or rather one that's not called Sonic R. It was amazing to me back then, and it still is. Sure, some of the lyrics are a bit laughable, but I think each track fits the characters well. And with the stage songs, they're also perfect matches for the respective levels. And of course, the title song Open Your Heart by Crush 40 is perhaps one of the best songs I hear upon starting a game, and especially during the final battle. I remember getting the perfect chaos as a kid. It was midnight, all the lights were off, and getting that epic song playing while Super Sonic goes to battle perfect chaos, it's just... I can't do it justice. I'll leave a link to the soundtrack below. And then there's the voice acting.
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah!
Hanging out with my hero, Sonic.
Go Sonic! Yeah, Sonic! 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 Oh no! Oh no! Give it! Oh no!
Which can be hit or miss. Post-game, there's trials you can play through, which give you different goals for each level, like collect 50 rings before the stage ends, or beat it within a certain time frame. There's also a boss rush as well, if you want to breeze through some of them with your upgrades. If you're playing the DX version, there is a missions mode, where you go through the adventure fields and levels finding secret spots or meeting special requirements before beating a stage. These are definitely nice ways to keep playing the game after the main campaign is over, and for the sake of bragging rights, you can collect the emblems here. Someday I'll get them all. Someday. And if you're playing the GameCube version of DX, you can use these missions to unlock Game Gear games. Honestly, it's fine by me that they didn't include it with the Xbox Live or PSN edition, because thanks to compilations I can play those. So in conclusion, Sonic Adventure is, well, still pretty fun. I mean, as an adult, yeah, I realize that there's some stuff that could have been handled better. The stage ratio should have been done differently, and Big the Cat shouldn't have been in this game. But about 20 years later, I'm still happy to play this game. You can find Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast and GameCube relatively easy, but I mostly recommend buying it on the PSN, Xbox Live Arcade, or Steam. Even with the DX DLC, it's the cheapest method of owning this game, and the most reliable as you saw. I don't get it. My other Dreamcast and GameCube games work just fine, so what gives? But either way, I think you'll definitely have fun with this game, especially for what I think had the best 3D Sonic controls before Sonic Unleashed. You'll have a fun time with this game. Now if you're wondering, no, I'm not going to do a 3D Sonic marathon. For a couple reasons. The first one being, what counts as a 3D Sonic game? Do games like Sonic and the Secret Rings, Black Knight, or Sonic Boom count? Does Shadow the Hedgehog count? And 2, there's quite a lot to go over when it comes to the 3D Sonic games, which I feel like would take too much of my time away, and there's just a lot of topics, so this marathon could have been going on for months, and I don't want to do that. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Take care.
Gotta keep going, everything